From the moment I found out that we were expecting a little boy, my heart overflowed with joy and dreams. Every time I closed my eyes, I imagined holding him in my arms, feeling the warmth of his tiny hands and whispering his name into the quiet night. But choosing that one perfect name, one that will carry him through his life and stories, is the biggest gift I could ever give him. This is why I need you to help me choose my baby's name. The journey of choosing a name for my baby boy began long before anyone else knew he existed. It started quietly, with a fluttering heartbeat on an ultrasound screen, a moment that changed everything. From then on, every day was filled with thoughts of who this little person might become, and what name would suit a boy whose future was unknown but whose presence already filled our lives with hope and anticipation. To choose a name is not just picking a sound or a label, it is opening a door to all the possibilities his life will hold. I found myself revisiting memories of my own childhood, remembering the meaning behind my own name and the stories my parents shared about why they chose it. I realized that a name is more than a word. It is often a wish, a legacy, and the very first gift a parent gives their child. This journey is surprisingly emotional and complex. Sometimes I'd find myself lingering over old family trees, wondering if I should honor tradition or set a new one of my own. Some names reminded me of my childhood heroes, others brought to mind cherished family members, and a few even made me tear up thinking about what I hope my son will embody: kindness, strength, resilience. I delved into names from different cultures and languages, looking for meanings that resonated with me, hoping to find something that felt just right. A name that would tell the world a little about who I wanted my boy to become, but would also allow him to write his own story. Day after day, as I waited for his arrival, I scribbled lists in notebooks and on my phone, testing aloud how each name sounded, imagining how it might look written in crayon or whispered before bedtime. Friends and family offered suggestions, each with their own special significance, and sometimes I felt overwhelmed by the number of possibilities. Yet beneath all the uncertainty and indecision there was a deep sense of gratitude, knowing I had the privilege of shaping this important part of my child's story. The journey brought me closer to understanding myself as a parent. It made me think deeply about what I value and what I want to pass on to my son. I considered the meaning of legacy, what it means to give a name that carries the weight of ancestry, yet also the lightness of personal hope and individual spirit. I imagined my boy learning about his name one day, asking curiously over dinner or in a quiet moment, and I wanted to be able to tell him not just that his name sounded beautiful, but that it was chosen with love and with dreams of his happiness, success, and kindness toward others. As the days counted down and the arrival of my son grew nearer, the journey itself became a treasured part of my anticipation. Each potential name felt like a promise, a hope, a small piece of the love I already felt for him. Suddenly, the choice wasn't just about making a decision, it was about savoring every moment, reflecting on what it means to be a parent and to welcome a child into the world, with a name that will become his own, woven into the story of his life. Every parent may imagine the journey of choosing a baby name as a simple checklist item, but for me it has been an emotional transformation marked by dreams, memories, and even the bittersweet aches of growing up. The moment I learned I would be welcoming a baby boy into the world, I found myself swept up not just in preparations, but in gentle daydreams, a delicate imagining of the kind of man he might become. I began to picture milestones, his first steps, his laughter filling the house, and his tiny hands reaching for comfort. In these visions, his name became the thread that united each moment, turning each memory, in waiting, into something personal and profound. Late at night, I would sit quietly and let the possibilities shimmer at the edge of my mind. Names brought longing and nostalgia, reminding me of ancestors and the stories I heard as a child. Sometimes a name would make me recall the lessons I learned growing up, or the words of wisdom passed down by family. Other times a name came with the possibility of hope, a reflection of the virtues I wanted to anchor in my son's life: generosity, courage, and the strength to weather storms. I realized that, for a parent, choosing a name is not just about bestowing identity, but about laying the foundation for a lifetime of dreams and the values held dear. Each name I considered tugged at my heart differently. Was it a name that evoked tenderness, or was it bold and assertive? Did the name feel gentle enough to cradle a newborn, yet strong enough to stand proudly with age? Behind every syllable there seemed to be a tiny wish I was trying to make for my child. I paused to imagine how he would feel about his name as he grew, whether it would bring comfort and pride or feel out of place. I found that the process of naming my son left me more mindful than ever of the love and dreams I already held for him, even before meeting him for the very first time. Choosing a name became an act of faith. I hoped for my son's happiness, for his friendships, for the paths he would choose, and I realized that these hopes would become entwined with the name I selected. In quiet moments I allowed myself to believe that a name could be more than an utterance. It could be an echo of my own heart, a signal to the world of the love and aspirations I wanted to send forward in my son's life. The task was filled with emotion, gratitude for having the chance to shape this part of his future, tenderness for the bond we already shared, and the unwavering hope that, wherever life may take him, his name will remind him that he was cherished from the very beginning. Ultimately, the emotions and dreams behind my choice are what make this journey unforgettable. The name I choose is more than a sound. It is a legacy, a hope, and a soft prayer for my son's well-being and joy. As the days pass and my anticipation builds, I know that when I whisper his name for the first time, it will carry not only my voice, but all of the love, dreams, and meaning that have grown throughout this emotional journey. Names hold stories. They're reflections of family histories, cultural legacies, and the worldviews that parents hope to pass on to their children. In the process of naming my baby boy, the significance of names within family and culture emerged as a guiding light. I found myself thinking deeply about ancestry, about names that belonged to loved ones who shaped my life and values, and about the traditions that have connected generations. It wasn't just about considering the musicality or popularity of names, but about honoring the tapestry of relatives, enduring customs and heritage that shaped me, now waiting to extend through this new life. Each culture celebrates naming with its own beautiful traditions. Some families cherish names handed down like precious heirlooms, connecting each new generation to its roots and distant relatives. Other cultures impart meaning through the stories behind each name, selecting words that conjure blessings, virtues, or a sense of belonging. I spent time talking to grandparents and elders, learning the origins of names in our family's history. Some chosen for strength during difficult times, others reflecting hope for laughter, longevity, or good fortune. These discussions offered moments of unity and tenderness, reminding me how a single word can carry generations of love, pride, grief, or joy. Choosing a name became a balancing act between honoring my lineage and forging new paths. I reflected on the values I wanted to embed in my son's identity: kindness, courage, creativity, wisdom. Sometimes I would write out names from our culture, and imagine my child surrounded by the family who shaped his story, each relative smiling at the thought of their legacy continuing. Other times I was drawn to names from distant cultures, imagining how a unique name might signal openness, adventure, or respect for diversity as my son meets the world. Every time I spoke these names aloud, I felt the weight and warmth of tradition intermingling with my personal hopes. Our family sat together, sharing memories linked to names, grandparents' childhoods, struggles, friendships. Some stories were lighthearted, some bittersweet, but all reminded me that names are more than syllables. They encapsulate lifetimes of hope and perseverance. A name can serve as a bridge between generations, connecting my baby boy not just to me, but to everyone who came before. I considered how he'd see his name on documents, in school, and among friends, and hoped it would serve as a gentle reminder of the love, sacrifice, and belonging infused in it. Part of the significance was also in creating a new story. By choosing a name, I have the privilege of setting the stage for my child's own adventures, aspirations, and growth. The act felt ceremonial, a deep responsibility, and a joyful opportunity to blend old traditions with new possibilities. I hoped that, as my son grew older, he'd discover and cherish the stories tied to his name, seeking out relatives to hear more, drawing inspiration as he writes new chapters of his life. Ultimately, the cultural and family significance of names shaped my journey profoundly. It taught me that naming is both a gift to my child and a tribute to everyone who made our story possible. It's about passing on wisdom and love, and also about inviting my son to build his unique legacy. As I await the day I meet him, I feel grateful for the generations upon whose shoulders we stand, and for the opportunity to weave their stories into my son's name, a heartfelt connection that will last a lifetime. Names shape our identity in ways that are both immediate and subtle, threading their influence through every stage of life. As I thought about what it means to choose a name for my baby boy, I realized it would become so much more than just a way to call him across a room or sign him up for school. From birth onward, a name is a central part of a person's self-perception and how the world first gets to know them. I imagined my son hearing his name for the first time, the gentle sound of it spoken with love, and over time, how that name would become tied to countless memories, accomplishments, and even dreams. I wanted to choose a name that feels like a warm embrace, something he will be proud to carry through every season of his life. The name I give my child will be his first introduction to the world. Teachers, friends, and eventually colleagues and loved ones will speak it, and each time they do, they will be building associations and impressions that become part of who he is. I considered how a unique or meaningful name might shape his self-esteem, his sense of belonging, and even the way he sees himself in moments of challenge or celebration. I wondered about how he'll respond when he is old enough to ask where his name came from, and I want to be able to tell him a story filled with thoughtfulness, hope, and the deep love with which it was chosen. A name can empower a person, becoming an anchor in times of uncertainty and a beacon when forging new paths. I pictured my boy introducing himself to new friends or standing up to share his ideas, his name a symbol of his authenticity and strength. I thought about how it could inspire him to live up to kindness, wisdom, or integrity, whatever values are woven into its meaning. Even on hard days, I hope hearing his name reminds him of home, of the family that supports him, and of the bright future awaiting him. The right name can become a shield, a comfort, and an encouragement all at once. At the same time, I recognize that names are also deeply personal. A name should reflect space for individuality, for self-discovery and change. While I put my hopes and wishes into the name I choose, I want him to feel free to grow into it in his own way, to make it his own as he discovers his distinctive gifts. Maybe he'll choose a nickname or embrace a different version of his name, and I hope he does that with pride, knowing that the original was chosen from a place of boundless love. I want his name to be a foundation, not a boundary, offering support as he writes his own story. The experience of choosing a name made me reflect on the power I have as a parent to give my child a beginning that is filled with meaning and intention. But more than anything, I understood the privilege of witnessing my son become himself, carrying a name that, I hope, will be a companion and a blessing through every chapter of his life. In the end, my wish is that his name helps him stand tall, filled with dignity and confidence, and that it always reminds him of how loved, cherished, and celebrated he. Inviting friends and loved ones into the process of choosing my baby's name transformed what could have been a solitary decision into a beautiful, communal experience. I realized early on that naming my son could be a way to strengthen bonds, gather wisdom, and make cherished memories before he even arrived. Asking others for their thoughts wasn't just about collecting suggestions, it was an opportunity to share the anticipation and excitement, to let the people who matter most play a special part in welcoming him into the world. I found great comfort in reaching out to parents, siblings, close friends, and even family members who lived far away, to ask for names that held meaning or stories in their own lives. Their responses brought warmth and laughter, playful debates, and moments of deep reflection, sometimes sparking unexpected insights about what matters most in a name, and about the values and dreams we collectively hold. During conversations, I noticed how people's memories and beliefs influenced their suggestions. Some shared names of beloved relatives or childhood companions as a way to honor connections that shaped who they are. Others chose names from literature, mythology, or history, offering stories and perspectives I hadn't considered. Some simply picked names that sounded joyful or strong when spoken aloud. Through these exchanges, I learned how every suggestion was a tiny gift, a piece of someone's heart, a wish for my son's future, or a reflection of what they saw in me as a parent. These shared moments made the wait for my baby more vibrant, filling it with laughter, nostalgia, and a sense of belonging. There were times when opinions clashed, or when a beloved name meant something different to everyone involved, yet even these differences added richness to the experience. They fueled lively debates at dinner tables and gentle teasing between generations, blending respect for tradition with openness to new ideas. I found myself appreciating the diversity of thoughts and the creativity with which my loved ones approached the question. Each exchange made me more mindful that my son's name would be more than an individual choice. It would be touched by the dreams, histories, and love of those around him. I started to imagine telling my son one day about the adventure of choosing his name, sharing how grandparents, friends, and relatives each played a part, bringing their own memories and affection into the process. I pictured family gatherings where the story would become a point of pride, a moment bound by affection and unity, showing my son that from the very beginning, he was embraced by a community that wanted the best for him. Those conversations made the experience more meaningful, allowing me to celebrate not just my own hopes, but the shared love surrounding my child. And involving loved ones also taught me that it's not about finding a perfect name, but about creating a moment that feels perfectly ours. The collection of names, ideas, and shared laughter formed a memory I would carry with me forever, reminding me that the most important choices are often made together. As I move toward the day I will finally meet my son, I feel grateful for every suggestion and conversation, knowing that his name will carry not just my love but the warmth, wisdom, and dreams of everyone who helped us welcome him into our lives. The moment the perfect name is chosen is truly a celebration, transforming a process filled with uncertainty and anticipation into one of joy and fulfillment. As the journey of searching, reflecting, and listening to stories from loved ones reached its climax, I felt an overwhelming sense of meaning wash over me. It was as if by settling on his name I was finally welcoming my son not just into my life, but into his own story. a story that started long before his birth and would continue to unfold with every day. The name, once just a possibility among many, suddenly felt alive, infused with hope and dreams, belonging not just to me, but to him alone. I could picture the day I would speak his name for the first time. To the world, to family, and most touchingly, to him. Celebrating this moment meant savoring both the simplicity and magnitude of what had happened. All the lists, suggestions, and conversations transformed into a sense of certainty and peace. I realized that this name carried every wish I had for my child, for health, for happiness, for adventure, and for kindness. It felt surreal to know that soon, the name would echo through our home and become the foundation for our shared memories and experiences. I pictured milestone moments, his first steps, first words, laughter, dreams, all colored by the identity we had given him. The perfect name had the power to bring together heritage, hope, and the gentle touch of those who cared about his journey. Sharing this celebration with loved ones added another layer of joy. As I announced the chosen name, I saw smiles, tears, and the sparkle of recognition in the eyes of friends and family. It was a moment that united everyone who had participated in the journey, turning their hopes and ideas into part of my son's legacy. Sometimes the announcement was met with stories and laughter about why that name felt perfect, sometimes with quiet reflection and gratitude. Either way, the act of choosing and revealing the name was an act of love, a bond that marked the transition from waiting and wondering to welcoming and cherishing. In private moments, I found myself repeating the name, letting it settle into my heart and mind. It became a mantra, a prayer, a promise, that my son will always be seen and loved for who he is. I dreamed about telling him one day how his name was celebrated, how it was chosen not in isolation, but with the thoughtful presence of so many caring voices. The perfect name became the symbol of our hopes and the torchbearer of traditions old and new, a reason to celebrate the faith and optimism that comes with welcoming a child into the world. Celebrating the choice of a name reminded me that this milestone was as much about beginnings as it was about endings. It marked the end of searching and the start of a new chapter filled with smiles, discoveries, and growth. For my baby boy, his name will always be a reminder of the love that awaited him from the very start, and the celebration that welcomed him into a life full of promise. That single word, his name, became the heart of our story, the celebration that starts every day and every adventure yet to come. Now that the name echoes in my heart, it feels like more than just a word. It's a promise, a hope, and a future painted with all the love I have to give. Every time I say it, I imagine my boy growing into the wonderful person he's meant to be. Thank you for being part of this beautiful beginning, where a simple name becomes the first step of a lifelong journey. Together, we've given my boy a name as special as the life waiting for him.